Thank you everybody for joining us. We'll start the recording now. So my name's Lauren. Would everyone like to introduce themselves real quick first?
Yeah. I'm Tuan. I used to be an inclusion teacher in Boston, so shout out to everyone from Boston. I now live in New York, and I've been helping create some content and coming up with modifications to sort of like meet the needs of classroom teachers and students right now.
I'm Ryan. I'm a game designer and content creation for Unruly. I was a maker, and I worked for an Escape the Room game for a long time as a game creator and builder. So it's good to apply those things to a much more worthwhile thing.
Nice. Hi, I'm Emily. You all have probably seen me many a time as well. I'm the education director here at Unruly.
Awesome. So before we get started, one more ask for everyone. What are you looking forward to for back to school? Write us in the chat things that you can't wait to see, to do, that you're excited for. Let us know. Ooh, and I see there's a side chat going on about spider plants. Nice. We'll get to that later. Nice. Yes, seeing students, absolutely. Try out Splats. Nice. Yeah, we did a webinar on Tuesday as well with EdWeb, and everyone said it was super excited to see their students again. Yes. Awesome. All right, and then what are your favorite icebreaker games? We are working on a back to school pack that maybe Tuan can speak to more. But we're looking for ideas for icebreaker games for back to school.
So I know that, so I used to teach 3rd grade and 4th grade. And so I know that the night before the first day of school, I was always trying to like come up with my list of icebreakers to play throughout the day. And we don't quite know what school is going to look like now, but we definitely know technology is going to be involved. So we're going to try to develop a back to school pack with fun games that are simple and like low stakes, so that everyone can get to know each other and become more familiar with the idea of like using technology to learn and to have fun, and to like bring in that element of like socializing as well. So we would love to hear what your favorite back to school games are, or icebreaker games, like games to get to know each other, like name games, anything.
I see 3 truths and a fib. I like that. 2 truths and a lie.
Mm-hmm.
We talk through Guess Who too, which is very good.
What is Tapatan and Poison?
Ooh.
That sounds amazing.
Nice. I like 2 truths and a lie. That's a good icebreaker game.
Yeah.
In fact, whenever somebody new joins the Unruly team, we always do an icebreaker game. So there's usually it's something sharing about yourself, like an outfit from the past that you were most embarrassed about, or your like future self would be super embarrassed about. Strategy games, nice. Goose chase, that's a good one. Awesome. Okay, so keep them coming. We're going to move on, but we'd love to hear your ideas. All right, and you've met Ryan and Tuan. Okay, so we did a survey, if you haven't seen the results from it yet, but we did a survey with about 100 principals and 120 teachers. So for teachers who participated in the survey, who might be in this webinar, thank you. And I just wanted to share a few of the key results that we saw. And one of the questions that we sort of asked was, which subjects were impacted the most by remote learning? And which ones, how do you feel that you were able to teach, like what level? And so pretty much across the board, core math and English did the best with remote learning, but the ones that struggled the most were computer science and project-based learning. So this was really interesting for us to learn at Unruly, just because we feel like we are positioned to be able to help with that. So those are some things that we've been working on, and hopefully we can help with in today's webinar. For those of you who may be doing some portion of virtual learning in the fall. Okay, and I'm gonna conduct a poll. Ooh. All All right, so how are you incorporating STEM or CS into your lesson? So this could be before COVID, you know, how are you incorporating STEM into your lessons? I'm going to launch the poll right now, so hopefully you can all see it. So number one, you've had a computer science unit, you might have had a coding or STEM club, participate in hour of code, incorporate it into non-computer science or STEM subjects, or maybe you're a CS teacher, in which case, yay, or something else. And if it's something else, we'd love to hear about it. So feel free to write us in the chat. I'll wait a few more seconds. Keep them coming. Nice, see lots of people participating in Hour of Code, which is awesome. We've got some computer science teachers in the audience. Yeah, computer science. All right. A few more seconds left. I'm going to end the poll soon and then share the results. Get your answers in. Okay.
Oh, crafts with science components.
Nice. So looks like the winners were Out of Code, or you teach a CS class. That's awesome. Or something else. Crafts and science. That sounds amazing. And robotics. Nice. Wow. Sounds right up our alley. Okay. So another thing that we took away, we wanted to see what was going to happen for back to school. So we asked principals sort of how many of them were expecting to be fully in school or partially in school and partially virtual. So these were the results of that. And kind of surprisingly, 92% of them said that they were planning on going back to school, at least some back to school time in August and September, reopening the school in person. And they are prioritizing tools for hybrid learning. So both in person or distance or some sort of combination of both. So tools that were a bit flexible. And when we talk about hybrid learning, just to sort of start us off on the same note, we're talking about learning that could be a combination of both in person and virtual. So that could be doing some subjects virtually or having an A/B schedule and the other subjects in person, with 6 feet social distancing or different guidelines and policies in place for student safety, but some sort of combination of both in-person and virtual learning. All right, Ryan, take it away.
Hey, thanks. So this graphic is referring to our virtual splats, splatting without splats document. That goes through step by step how you would use splats without physical access to the devices. So the web app that we use works very well. You can use them. Each student can have their own set of 6 virtual splats and code and do all the same things that they would do with the physical devices, but online. And I think the next slide has a couple of the things we've built for that splatting without splats guide. So just like you would do with the physical devices, the interface is the same. You code, you pull blocks out of the block tray on the side, you debug and do all the same activities, but fully online, fully virtually. This is also very useful for the hybrid learning that we're going to get to a little bit later. The next one, I believe, is the one with the list of things that we did. So earlier this year, we came out with 3 different sets of activities, which were initially fully virtual activities, but each could also be useful in hybrid learning and a bunch of different ways that you could use them. We're going to go through one rainbow keyboard in a second here, which is actually from Activity Pack 2, which is adapted for hybrid learning. These 3, so fitness and STEM was a personal activity, a way for kids to get active and be able to remotely interact and start their own fitness routine. The Morse code is a nice cooperative, able to send messages back and forth, learn a little bit about Morse code and the programming side of that. All 3 of these are student-facing activities, which is it's a little bit different than some of the other packs we've done, and they work super well as a virtual only, and also super well as a bring code to class or other A/B schedule hybrid learning. Musical splats, that goes through actually how to build a song from beginning to end. We've done Splats DJ and then Rainbow Keyboard as other music-focused activities out of other packs. That one is particularly using the app, building songs that you can bring the code for to class or share remotely with other students and the teacher.
Nice. Do you have a favorite one?
Morse code was a lot of fun. That's a thing that I've used in a bunch of different forms with a lot of different groups. Making adults solve Morse code puzzles over the years has always been interesting. I've seen literal code breakers come through my puzzles. Like, yeah, we like they actually are. They work for various government contractors, and it's like, oh yeah, they still have a hard time solving Morse code. So it's a challenging logic puzzle, no matter how much experience you have with it. Rainbow Keyboard is one of my favorite activities. That's one I've had experience with demoing in person, with the physical splats, and also doing remote and partial hybrid stuff with.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into Rainbow Keyboard in a sec. One just other thing to note, the musical splats activity pack is great for elementary school level, and the Morse code and fitness and STEM activity packs are maybe a little bit more advanced. Good for elementary, but also for middle school as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, so like we said, there's a lot of different tools you can use for hybrid learning. With the Rainbow Keyboard, so if we want to switch over to the web app here.
For sure. We're going to take you on a tour. So for those of you who haven't used our web app, I did link it in the chat, app.unruly-studios.com. It's free to use. All you need to do is click teacher and enter your email, and you'll be in there. There's no cost to use it, so you can play around with it.
Yeah, so we've had other webinars and other packs about how to use the virtual web app. That how to use Splats, the virtual Splats guide is a very good, very descriptive like intro to how to use everything in the app. So this is Rainbow Keyboard. The program starts by setting up the rainbow colors and assigning them to all of the splats. And then we have this function, which all it does is cycle the colors from one splat to the next. So it sits there, and as long as the program is running, it'll just keep cycling and cycling, and it makes a very interactive and a lot of fun display. So when you're doing this virtually, it's a nice thing to see on the screen. When you have splats in person, it's also a great, very bright and colorful way to play with a keyboard. On this side, we have each one of the splats is assigned a note value. In the pack, in any of the music packs, we have our conversion chart, which shows you what the MIDI value is versus like the actual keyboard note. But the default is these here, it's just a C scale, and that sounds like you would expect. So with that, you can build all sorts of nursery rhymes. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is the example we have in the musical splats pack. You can build any number of songs. Once you start changing these MIDI values, you can really get a lot of cool results. So for hybrid learning, there's a lot of different ways that you could interface this. Building this program ahead of time and then bringing it to class to try out and show off some of the things you've built, maybe what scale you've chosen. Building programs that have your song built in, like the musical splats pack shows. That's a really great way to assign out the program and then have kids build their own program that plays a song. And we did a Crash DJ where kids were submitting their own songs, and Crash was listening to them and dancing, which is a lot of fun. So one little note is that this is a function block, which we've collapsed down to make it a lot easier to read. That's a long press or a right click, and then expand or contract, collapse. And this is a quick look at this function block where all it does is takes all of the things that start out as colors, moves them up, and then when they get to the sixth one, instead of going off the screen to the seventh, they begin back at the first one and cycle their way through. This is a really good example of a function used to collapse down code and make it a lot easier to read.
And fun fact, this cycling you can use in any type of game. You don't need to necessarily use it with music.
Yeah, this ability to cycle a series of variables through 7, you could do this with sounds, you could do it with team colors, and it's very adaptable.
One other question for you, Ryan. Where does this Rainbow Keyboard, like this particular code, live? In which activity pack?
This is pack 2, right? This is activity pack 2.
Yep.
And then the kind of core part of this is the MIDI conversion, which is the next slide we'll see, I think, or maybe we'll skip that. But it's nice to be able to convert any song you'd like into MIDI values and then plug them into the keyboard and play them, have the program play them for you.
I just linked the musical Splats activity pack. So Rainbow Keyboard is not in this activity pack, but it uses a lot of the same features with MIDI and the notes and music. So this one can be done all virtually through our app. So I just linked it. Check it out if you're interested. And this particular lesson, as Emily and Ryan said, is in our pack 2, which I believe is just for customers only in the portal right now.
Yeah, this was a good example of how to adapt something that was intentionally a physical one, and then we adapted to purely virtual activity, and now it's even adapted again to a hybrid lesson.
Nice. If you're done sharing your screen, Ryan, I'll go back to the slides and we can show the MIDI.
There you go.
Awesome. Oops. Okay.
There's a question in the chat about the age for the musical Splats.
Yeah, just a note too, if you guys have questions, feel free, just make sure that they're to all panelists and attendees if in case anybody else has any questions that are similar. But Splats in general are great for, we say K through 8, and that's because we have lesson plans and activities that are aligned to CSTA standards from K through 8. Though, just to note, Emily is about to say that all of our virtual activities are not aligned to CSTA standards exactly. But in general, our activities are great for K through 8 levels. Anything I missed, Emily?
Yeah, the reason why they're not is because they're direct to student, so not things that kids need to be seeing. And for all of our activities, we use CSTA, and the reason why like specifically our musical Splats activity pack, we say middle school, is because it does use, well, that one is elementary school, but usually their cutoffs are variables and functions. So if you just look for at any pack, does it have variables and does it have functions? Those are the big cutoff points for CSTA.
Nice. So yeah, just to reiterate, the musical Splats activity pack is a great one for elementary, and then middle school being 6 through 8 is good for the Morse code and the fitness and STEM.
A great intro to music lesson.
Yeah. Okay, so Ryan, what are we looking at here? What is this?
So this is just a keyboard. So this is a standard like piano keyboard like you would imagine, where the black keys are up at the top and then the white keys at the bottom. Those numbers are actually a standard thing called a MIDI value that's been used for years and years for computers to be able to like use the exact tone that you want them to. So a 60 and a MIDI value is that middle C, it's that middle note that we started with on Splat 1 in Rainbow Keyboard, and it's all of those very happy and classic songs you would think of, like Twilight, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, would be in that C scale.
We've heard that many a times.
Yes, we should invent 5 or 6 more.
Yeah. Okay. And now Tuan's going to talk about modifying some existing games for social distancing.
So I like to start off by saying, like, no one knows your kids better than you know your kids. So we have suggestions, but of course, like, the nature of Unruly is change it as you need it to change it and make the accommodations and modifications that you feel are necessary for your kids. So these are just suggestions, but we came up with some ideas to play specifically our activity pack 1. Our activities are very popular, and we wanted to come up with accommodations so that you can play both together in the classroom and virtually online. So you can still have fun at 6 feet.
I put this graphic in the slide. I just love it. You can still compete at 6 feet because they're all about collaboration, but also a little bit of competition because that's fun, right?
So we also were thinking of space is very limited in classrooms, so we wanted to maximize the space while also adhering to social distancing standards. And so there are games where you play in groups or teams, and usually the kids are all over each other, but you can designate spots in your classroom. You can use whatever you have, put tape on the floor, use yardsticks, whatever materials you have around. But we decided that this 9-foot circle would maximize your space so that you can fit 4 splats and adhere to the distancing standards.
The fun math problem.
Yeah. So we're actually going to demonstrate some of the games. Splats Goalie is a game in Activity Pack 1, and it's very similar to Whack-A-Mole. And so you have your splats and they light up, and the kids basically act as goalies and they stomp on the splats that light up. And so it's a very simple code that actually features a bug. And the coding part is where the kids come together and they try to fix the bug in order to have the code run properly. So next slide, please. So when you play together, you can think about using the social distancing circle. You can play in smaller groups. You can have a designated goalie press the splats rather than having all the kids press the splats to avoid like contact. And the kids can also code on their individual devices since the web app is available to everyone. And what you're looking at here is we went back into the activity pack 1, and under notes, we've added notes for playing together and notes for playing remotely. So if you're playing remotely, a version of this game would be to do a Zoom breakout room if you want to play in smaller groups. And you can also designate a goalie and have them share their screen, and then they would press the splat. And then a game that we're actually going to demonstrate for you today is a very popular game. At least it was very popular in my classroom, and I know it was popular in some of your classrooms. 4 corners. So we have a splat version where you have 4 splats and they all light up. And then after 10 seconds, students have to choose a corner. And the corner that the splat that has the light turn off, that's the designated corner. And so next slide. So under our notes, you can play in a smaller group. You can mark the corner or the floor with tape to show where students can stand. You can use colored flags or objects or hand signals to choose a corner rather than having kids like rush towards a corner. And you can also feel free to use the code in a completely different way. You can turn the code, for example, into like a 4-sided die, and then each die or corner of the die would mean something else. So corner number 1 might be everyone has to do a push-up. Corner number 2 might be everyone has to do a silly face. And so the corner that has the slat turn off the color would be what everyone would have to do. And then for remote play, you would play it the same way, only instead of kids rushing to a corner, you would use a hand signal or whatever your class decides on to show everyone's choice. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick and we're gonna play a quick round of 4 corners. I'll show you what the code looks like. So let me share screen. It's one of those things where as soon as you have to show to a large group of people that you know how to do something, you completely forget how to do the thing.
No.
Share screen. All right, so this is the code. It's very simple. You have your 4 splats, and when you press run, you're going to see that all the splats will light up a different color, and then the program will choose a random splat to turn off. So everyone, we're going to show that we're choosing corner 1, 2, 3, or 4 by showing 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm going to press run, so get ready. All the splats light up. After 10 seconds, it should turn off.
It's random.
Oh, did I not press? What's happening? There we go. All right, so corner number 2, you're out.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a poor sport. I'm a poor sport.
All right.
Sorry. We should take out that random block, man.
Oh, I should. Yeah.
Higher stakes. We might have to wait forever.
Do I need to press run again? There we go. So corner number 1, you're out.
None of us were number 1.
So, Tuan, do you mind walking us through the code for this for people who are super brand new to block coding and splats?
Sure. And I might need some help from Ryan. But so basically when the program starts, you can grab your blocks here from the side block panel. And when the program starts, all the splats are going to light up different colors that you designate. So splat number 1 will be green, 2 will be blue, 3 will be red, and 4 will be yellow. And then there will be a slight delay, the 10-second delay, to let students choose their corner. And then after that 10-second delay, the program will randomly choose a splat to turn off. And the splat that has the color turn off is the one that is the corner that's out.
So this is a great game, I think, for elementary students. It's super simple. You can code it together. The code is not very complex. I think Emily and I have coded this game with a classroom before that we were visiting of grade, I think they were like grade 2, grade 3. Why the random number from 1 to 10? Could we take that out? And I think that's what Emily was alluding to, and just make it 5 seconds.
Yeah, so if you drag out that whole random number block, we won't have to have any guesses. So we won't know, like, we won't have a range of numbers. It'll just be. And
or
if
we can make it 2 seconds.
Speed round. I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose, and you super sleuths were able to help me out. So now after 10 seconds, it will definitely choose a random block to turn off.
And you can also make that as long or as short as you want. So you could play a fun game where each round it gets faster and faster and faster.
It can be like a lightning round of 5 seconds if you want it to be 5 seconds.
Yep.
Exactly.
And you can change that timing also based off of the amount of movement. So in spaces that we've played that have been really, really big, like 15 seconds honestly isn't enough. But if you're in smaller spaces or if you're virtual, you can make it less.
Yeah. And if you're playing this in the classroom, then you could put little tape markers on the floor. And to control movement, you can also consider giving each student a die, and they would roll the die, and that would designate like how many steps they can take, but then you would have to increase the time. So it's up to you and your students and your space.
Awesome. And we have a little bit of time, so do you mind showing us, giving us a little virtual tour of the app, and then maybe showing people how to download code and import it?
So the app itself, you have, when you create an account, it's going to prompt you to choose a character, come up with a name, and then it will save that name for you on your computer. And so you can log into your own personal account every time. And then so you'll see that my character is this user, my name, and it counts your stomps, it counts the tutorials you go through, it keeps track of the examples you filtered through as well. And then we have different tutorials and examples. So I highly recommend you explore this app if you haven't already. And then if you want to load a pre-existing code, which some of our packs will prompt you to do that, you can load your code here under load example. And then anything you want to undo, you can press the undo. You can zoom in and out. So it's basically an endless grid, piece of grid paper. You can trash anything you need to, and you can right click, and then the right click will have different controls as well. Anything you want to add on, Ryan?
The saving and loading code can be used to transfer code between people, especially in the hybrid learning model. So once you set up an app that's your song, your game, your customized thing that they've taken an activity and gone to the moon with, they can save it as a text file, which is really small and easy to share. And then you can load it on your machine, or another student can load it on their machine, and it'll just load the blocks in that they chose, and you can run it and show it off just like anything else.
Yeah. And you can control your volume too, so you don't hear just like 10 splats very loudly splatting.
It doesn't work as well for the virtual splats, but the physical splats, that helps a lot.
When we go over details of how to import and export code in our Splatting Without Splats guide, but Tuan, just really quickly, if you go back under that file folder, just where, so when you click Save a Project, if you saw that export button, that will download the code onto your computer, whatever it is. So if it's a Chromebook, that'll bring up a Google Drive slide. On Tuan's computer, just save a text file below. And then if you collapse Save My Project, Tuan, and go back up to Create a Project, then you can hit Import right there. But again, we've got details on all of that in the Splatting Without Splats guide.
And the Splatting Without Splats guide is on our website. If you go under lessons, in the top navigation of our homepage, you'll find it there. We have one for iPads and one for Chromebooks. And speaking of iPads, Sandra's asking if the code transfer works on iPads. It does not, because of, I guess they have a complicated document saving system, but we are working on workarounds. And for now, the best way to do that is with screen recording. We had an awesome submission to the Musical Splats Challenge from a teacher in Hawaii who his students sent him screen recordings of their code running and then shared it with us and then crashed the Unruly Gorilla dance to it. And we sent that video to them. And for those who don't know who Crash is, our colleague has a gorilla suit literally at home. We don't know why, we don't ask questions, but he will dress up in it and dance to songs that students create. So if you want to create songs with your students in the fall, let us know, send it to us, and we'll get Crash to dance to it. Awesome.
I'm gonna stop my share, Lauren, and hand it back to you.
Yeah. All right. So, I just wanted to pose the question to everybody attending tonight. Do you have any favorite games that you would like to try to modify for hybrid learning? It doesn't have to be Splats related. It could be anything, some of your favorite games from childhood or favorite games that you've played with your students. Write us in the chat and let us know. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to find a workaround and make it a hybrid model for you. We need the ideas. Especially student ideas are the best. They're usually the most creative, way more creative than the stuff we come up with sometimes. All right, mine was definitely the Heads Up 7-Up. I love that game. I always cheated though. I always peek.
That game tore my class apart.
I've been trying to think of a Splats version of Heads Up 7-Up actually.
Yeah?
Nice.
I'm sure we can do that.
I've been working on that one. It could be a very like amazing celebratory game, or it could be like absolutely devastating, depending on your kids.
Yeah.
How do they fit on the desk? That's all that.
Yeah. My 5th grade class had 28 students in it, and so Heads Up 7-Up was the most competitive I think I've ever encountered. It was amazing.
28 students. Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, Heads Up 7-Up with that many kids, you like it really adds to the suspense, and you like start to get cycles going if you play it enough, like throughout the whole year. You like know who might select who and
hack the game. Okay. Anybody? Any favorite games? Nobody likes games? Ryan, what was your favorite? You're the game master. What was your favorite game?
I think Heads Up 7-Up would be a really good challenge to convert to Splats. That's a tough one. I'm trying to think of another one. Trying to think of another good one.
Foursquare.
Some
sort of simulated Foursquare I've always wanted to do. I know we said it didn't have to be with Splats, but a simulated Foursquare where like you would bounce a ball from one splat to another, like but with lights. I would like to do that.
Hopscotch would be a lot of fun. That's
a couple hopscotches. Yeah, I like that.
It's gamifying hopscotch, right? It's how do you use Splats to make a like game intensive hopscotch thing with 6 pads, right? And do you move the pads every time someone goes through? Do the pads light up at different times? Do they light up in different patterns?
I like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody says wall ball. I don't know what that is. Is that like you hit the ball against the wall? Ooh, Battleship would be a good one. Ooh, yeah, that'd be a great one. We could totally do a Battleship Splats. Battle Splats. I don't know what
Wall ball would be good. Like Hopscotch and Battleship would both be great with 12 Splats if we ever get to that point where you can run 12 at the same time, or when we get to that point, it would be even nicer to have that.
Nice. Okay, someone was asking a question about school issued email address. Yeah, if you don't have a school issued email address, if you're part of a homeschool community, no problem. Just put in your personal email address.
Actually, on our web app though, you will not be able to get in through by putting, if you're logging into the app as an educator. So click guest in that case. We do block Yahoo and Gmail, so.
So red light, green light, we have a version that exists already. It's called Red Splat, Green Splat, and it's in Activity Pack 1. And so we're going to have accommodations for that game already. So look out
Nice.
for that. That's coming out soon.
Nice.
We also have red light, green light. So yeah, Tuan's working on all those accommodations for red light, green light, but we also have it as an example in the app too, if you'd like to just play it now directly. And
haven't heard of
musical
musical chairs.
chairs, we do have an activity. That one is in the works, and that exists. In terms of making it hybrid learning, we have had a couple of teachers that have used their own versions of musical chairs games, similarly to Four Corners. So using musical chairs as a random, basically like a random chance generator. But if you can think of any fun ways to make musical chairs work remotely and in person, let me know. I would love to play it remotely.
I like What Time Is It, Mr. Wolf? That's a good one too.
Never played that one.
I don't know that game.
Yeah, what is that game?
Usually there's a wolf in all the kids say, "What time is it, Mr. Wolf?" And then I don't really remember what happens next, but I remember that I really loved it as a kid. Teresa, tell us, how do you play What Time Is It, Mr. Wolf? All right.
It
And
sounds like Red Rover, but
yeah, I think it's similar, but it's a good full class play. You move the number of steps. If they say 6 o'clock, you move 6 steps. Oh yeah. So he's like at the front of the room like this, I think, and then they move, and then he chooses when he like turns around and then gets to tag people. I think that's what happens. But I have memories of it being really fun. And I remember like everyone screaming, "What time is it, Mr. Wolf?" Yeah. Has his back to them. Yeah, exactly. He has his back to them when he's calling all the time. We should make a Splats game. Okay. So we do have a promotion going on right now for Unstoppable Play. This is sort of our rallying cry for the fall. We believe that play is super duper important to kids' development and just to being a kid in general. And so we really think it's important to incorporate play into whatever the fall is going to look like, whether that be virtual or in person. So we're here for you guys to help make that happen. And we do have a special promotion right now. So if you request a quote before July 24th, we will give you discounted pricing. So if you have somebody on our team that you're already connected with, just feel free to reach out to them for more details, or feel free to email me, Lauren at unruly-studios.com, if you have any questions. We also have a really cool back to school virtual boot camp going on. So if you do have a membership already or want to get a membership, it's going to be awesome. Emily, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. We're doing a virtual boot camp. It is like a conference, but way more fun and way better. We have around 9 sessions on the schedule right now, from everything about the new version of our app to different ways to infuse ruliness in your classroom, just everything to get you ready. So I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be blessed.
The class there's no cost for it. It's included in the cost of the membership. So anybody who has an Unruly membership can participate in the boot camp. I got a little sneak peek of what it's going to look like. It's going to be awesome. And Emily already did a boot camp over the spring too that went really well. So, and we're also working on some SEL friendly STEM activities. I think actually we've already released them. Anything to add on that, Emily?
Sure. We will have a session specifically about SEL. It's something that I think has become even more and more important, especially in the just the time that we're living in right now. So we do have a set of activities by all of us, so Tuan and Ryan, that we will be going over in depth during the boot camp, and we'll also be releasing as well. They are not code focused, so they focus mostly on specific SEL objectives, and they're really awesome and really fun.
Nice. And just to say, SEL stands for social emotional learning. Somebody asked. And yeah, the CASEL standards are sort of the ones that are the most popular. So we've used those as sort of our benchmark. And somebody's asking, is there an SEL session in the boot camp? And what about sessions for other teachers at the school?
Yes, there is a session specifically on SEL. You will probably see Tuan, Ryan, and I in that session. And anybody at your school is available to sign up for the boot camp. So invite everybody at your school to come. There's no caps. Everybody's invited.
Nice.
That's like the one nice thing about virtual. It's sort of like anybody can come.
And we had a few questions about the cost of the membership. So we definitely want to know sort of what, where your school's at, how many students you're going to be having, and kind of get to know your needs a little bit more. So if you're interested in it, please do send me an email, and we'll set up a quick introductory call and go over the membership, what's included, and the cost and all that. All right, any other questions? I believe this is the end. It's a short one this time. Usually we go over an hour. I'm glad we've gotten better at getting to the, to the point. Awesome. And I know, yeah, we had a lot of questions at our last webinar about sort of Splats and SEL. So that'll definitely be something that we cover in the bootcamp class.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. And someone was asking about the questions when you registered. I have not had a chance to take a look at those. So if you asked us a question, please feel free to put it in the chat here. I'll make sure that we do get to all the questions via email if there's any questions that you asked when you signed up. So if there's anything you want us to talk about now, please write me in the chat. And if not, I will get back to you via email and make sure that we get to everybody's questions. Ooh, this is a good one. Where do we sign up for the bootcamp? We've been talking about it. We've been talking it up a lot. How do people sign up?
You are going to be receiving many an email from me over the next 2 weeks. So we're going to start sending out emails for signups starting next week. So look out for those. And also, if you don't see those emails, or you're wondering who can participate or anything like that, you can always shoot Lauren an email and we'll make sure that you get everything that you need.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to Ann and Ryan for going over all those games. If anybody ever has any game requests or things like, hey, this is like a really fun game, I wish I could play it with Splats, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. We're working on stuff all the time, new games and fun activities for students. So we love your feedback. Please keep it coming. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. We'll stay online for another minute, but just to answer any other questions that might be burning. But for everybody else, please have an awesome day. And thank you so much for joining us. Hope this was helpful.
Thanks again.
And somebody asked, do you have to have a membership to participate in the bootcamp? Yes, you do. The bootcamp comes with the membership, and we always are working on training and coaching. It's ongoing. So that's included in the membership pricing. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Woohoo.
Oh, someone asked.